That is my biggest issue. I don't want to be talking for hours and hours, and not for you guys to listen to whatever I say. So I'm just making sure everything is working. I might need some sort of someone needs to confirm it that I am actually live and that you guys can hear me. But yeah, today, of course, as you can see, the headline, and of course you can read the title as well. Is it time for Frank Lampard to go? And it's more of a chat, it's more of a hangout, it's more of a to get your opinion, what you guys have to say in regards to Frank Lampard, Chelsea's direction, and where we're going as a club. But before, of course, I can dive into this stuff, I need to know if it's working or not. So I guess once a lot of people are into the stream, they will start commenting and saying if they can hear me and if everything is fine. I believe you guys can hear me, so I'm going to continue. So let's get into, of course, there's a lot of things to talk about. Yesterday's, yeah, it is. All right, so that's fine. Obviously, guys, if you do want to get involved, if you want to be part of this stream, do let me know. I'll send you an invite so you guys can join and have your... There you go. That is the link. Yeah, can hear me. Okay. That is the link. If you guys want to, of course, join in the stream, let me know. You guys can have your opinion on yesterday's game. But there's a lot of things to sort of dissect, talk about. To be honest, I don't know where to start from. But I think I think the best place to start is, of course, from yesterday's game. And Man City. You know what, to be honest, I'm thinking a lot of things from the Man City game, to be honest. I thought we were going to get beaten. It's the manner that we got beaten. I think that's one thing that kind of frustrated a lot of Chelsea fans, and not just on YouTube, but also on social media as well. And I've been looking at a lot of social medias. I've been looking at a lot of tweets, Facebook, and everywhere. It's just been very toxic in the Chelsea camp at the moment, and rightly so as well. Do we have someone? I think we've got someone here on the stream. We've got Jaden. Let's see if we can add you. Oh, it didn't work, did it? Okay, I'm not sure if it's working or not. Yeah, for some reason it's not working. So you might want to try that again, Jaden. So as I was saying, of course, there's a lot of places we can dissect. I think we're going to start off with the Man City game. It's getting beaten 3-1. And to be honest, let me just say, as a Chelsea fan, I can take defeat. I can take defeat. I can take defeat. You know, the one way we're beaten by Everton, I can take that defeat because, to be honest, we were outclassed. We were beaten convincingly by Everton. So I can take that defeat. However, there's certain games I can't take, such as the Wolves game, conceding at the last minute. There's also the Man City game as well, the Arsenal game as well. Those are some of the defeats that I don't take because it's you know what they produce on the pitch. The players don't really, especially against Arsenal, that really kind of pissed me off to the core because we weren't that convincing. We weren't that deadly going forward. We weren't threatening. We didn't look as if we cared. So that was one of my main issue. Yes, we got Reckless Gaming here. We got Daniel Knights. We got That's Where as well. We got Elijah as well. Thank you for joining the stream. Happy New Year to everyone as well. I do apologize if things don't. Okay. Oops, sorry. I'm just figuring some things out. Okay, we got Mikey here as well. We got a lot of you guys here on the stream, so thank you very much for joining, guys. 54, yeah, definitely. I got here with me Nav on the stream as well. I'll be putting him on the stream very, very soon to sort of dissect into yesterday's game and of course talk about Frank as well. So yeah, I mean, I think yesterday's game is something that we need to. Do you want? Okay, there's a lot of you guys asking if I'm Frank in or Frank out, but we'll sort of dissect to this into this story a bit, into this further detail. Yesterday's game, of course, Man City was very difficult for me to take, personally speaking, because I mean, the way we approached that game was just so bad. I mean, we knew what we had at stake. You know, it was a very important game for us. We had to get that 3 points, and the fact that we completely bottled it was something that really annoyed me. I'm gonna get Nav here into the stream. Hopefully it works because last time I think we had Jaden earlier right now, but didn't really work out for some reason. Hopefully he can hear me. Yes, Nav, can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear you, mate. I honestly can't hear you.
Hi, Ankit. Happy New Year.
Yes, I can hear you. Happy New Year to you as well. Let's just dive into it. Let's just dive into, of course, what happened yesterday. Give me your honest opinion on the game yesterday against Man City. What's your take? What's your feeling? What's your emotion? And how are you feeling about Frank Lampard as a manager?
So, regarding the yesterday's game, I think for the first 10 to 15 minutes, we were pretty good. We had lots of possession. And the moment, they scored first, you
Yeah,
know, our team simply, fell apart. The players fell through. And that period after the first 15 minutes, the Man City players, they were simply walking past us. So there were no, intensity in our gameplay. Then there was no fight in the team. And then in the second half, I could say like things improved a bit, but I feel like the players were throwing Lampard under the bus.
do you think the players have given up on Frank Lampard? Like certain players, we know for sure that they don't want to play for Frank Lampard, such as Marcos Alonso. Even to a certain extent, I would say certain players that we have as well have pretty much given up on Frank Lampard. They don't really want to play for him. Do you think, you know, what changes would you make, especially with there might be a split in camp? Tomori as well, of course, someone just pointed out. Tomori, of course, doesn't seem to like he wants to play for Frank Lampard. Do you think there's a split in the camp at the moment? Do you think there's a split in the camp?
I think so, yes. Because the way Frank Lampard has treated certain players, I think so. For example, Tomori, I don't know, why Christensen always starts ahead of him. Similar case was for Hudson-Odoi, but I think now Frank Lampard has realized after the past few games that he should get more game time. Like since the past couple of games, like the Aston Villa game and the Man City game, I think Lampard got the lineup correct. But if
Yeah,
you see the matches before that, I think he had enough blood in his hands. Even before that. So like Werner was playing on the wings, then Hudson-Odoi wasn't even starting when Ziyech and Pulisic were injured.
yeah,
Similar case for Tomori. Then in midfield, I don't know what Jorginho had done to
yeah,
get into the starting lineup. Kovacic, who was our player of the year last season, he also did not get much game time, and Jorginho was preferred to him. So I think the period before till the Arsenal game, from Everton to Arsenal game, I think that's where Frank Lampard made a lot of tactical decisions which went wrong.
yeah,
So that's where things went wrong. uh, in Aston Villa and Man City, I think against Man City we all wanted to see Werner up top, Ziyech
yeah,
on the right and Pulisic on the left. That's our strongest front three.
yeah,
But now since everyone is coming back from injury, we all know like now this will take some time to click. And
yeah,
does Frank Lampard have enough nerves, to stick with these players or not?
yeah,
Is it too late? That's the question for
yeah.
Lampard.
It's going to be quite testing time for Frank Lampard, especially. I mean, yesterday a lot of fans on Twitter and social media were crying out for Werner, Ziyech, and Pulisic, and they got that yesterday against Man City and didn't really deliver.
Yep.
Wasn't that impactful going forward. Um, Do you think that Frank Lampard should stick with that now? Pulisic, Werner, and Ziyech, or should he bring in Hudson Odoi? I don't like personally speaking. I'm not sure if Frank Lampard is a huge fan of Hudson Odoi. There's a couple of, like I said, there's a couple of players in the squad right now that Frank has. He's not fully convinced. He doesn't really fully trust them. Um, so I mean, how does he win the trust of certain players? I mean, we've seen Giroud last season didn't play a lot of games. Towards the end of the season, he got playing time. He performed as well, scored goals as well, and then this start of this season as well didn't really feature that much. Tabby was starting forward as well. It's only when the certain managers, like the French manager, was saying Giroud should play a lot of games in order to be in the French national team. How what does it take for a player to trust win the trust of a sorry, what did I say? What does it what would it take for a player to win the trust of Frank Lampard? Because clearly, I mean, Giroud has been doing everything right since the start, and it seems like Frank Lampard doesn't really prefer him. Same with Hudson Odoi as well. And to be honest, I have seen his development for Hudson Odoi. There was, of course, he was criticized for his the work that he does with the work that he doesn't do off ball, and I can see that he didn't used to track back. He never used to get in position, and I kind of understood Frank Lampard as well why he never chose Hudson Odoi. But as the game went on, as the months went on, I could see that Hudson Odoi was actually developing. He was actually listening to the things that he was criticized for, and still he does not get a chance. Is it to do with the fact that Hudson Odoi is not good enough for Frank's football, or what is it? How does players win Frank Lampard's trust? What does players have to do?
Yep. So I also feel the same way. I think like Hudson Odoi, for his performances against Man City, against Arsenal, against Aston Villa, I think he has done enough to deserve a starting place. Whether Pulisic be benched or Ziyech be benched, I would have preferred Ziyech be benched because he came back from an injury and he should be developed bit by bit, and so that he doesn't catch up another injury. So I think Hudson Odoi should be starting ahead of Ziyech at the moment till Ziyech finds his full form. And
Yeah,
as you mentioned, this season I can when you watch Hudson Odoi, he tracks back all the time. He does the dirty
he
work
does.
as well off the ball. So his gameplay, it has improved a lot, and I think he has done everything to deserve a starting place. If the issue lies, in the training, I think that's where Frank Lampard needs to learn that not all players can be such as Frank Lampard or John Terry, like given
Yeah,
in 100% in the training as well. You can see Eden Hazard, and if you ask his former teammates, they'll say like he didn't used to train at all in the training ground. He used to say I'm the boss. He used to do
yeah,
all the tricks in the training ground because he knew like whenever he gets on the field he had that ability to kill the games off.
yeah,
Similarly, that's where Frank Lampard needs to improve his learning to treat
yeah,
like each player differently, and to give equal chances to all these players. So the problem here is like there's a similar case with Mount. Like we agree like Mount is a good player, but he can't play in weekend and week out. If
yeah,
the same type of chance is given to either Hudson Odoi or Tomori, I think they can also be better players if they get the same game time as a Mason Mount or Tammy Abraham.
yeah. Do you think there's some sort of a fear in Frank Lampard that if he does give the likes of Hudson Odoi the chance, that he would not deliver, and if he does fail, then it would just eventually fall onto him, onto Frank Lampard, for trusting him? Is it I mean, you have talked about it really well about Hudson Odoi. I mean, let's just talk about yesterday's game, Man City game. Who for you? I mean, it's really difficult to find a standout performer in yesterday's game against Man City because I think everyone was just shocking, from the keeper all the way to attackers. Everyone was just shockingly, just really bad. It was one of the worst performances I've seen of Chelsea this year. But this season, it's been one of the worst ones. And when a lot of things are riding on this game, you know that if you get 3 points, you will of course jump in the table. Um, not to take away from Man City as well. Man City is very, very good side, very decent side as well. But were you happy with the approach from Frank Lampard going into this game, and also knowing as well there was a couple of key players out for them as well? Aguero was out, Kyle Walker was out, um, Fernandinho, I believe there's a bunch of other players out for Man City. Were you happy with the approach from Frank Lampard and how he approached that game against City?
So I think like when I heard his pre-match press conference, he was right up to the point. We were playing Man City, a team who likes to play possession-based football.
Yeah,
Like we are trying to play a similar style of football, but we are years behind them.
yeah,
So I think we should have been a bit more defensive in our approach. And
mm,
as soon as the first goal went in, I think the owner should be on the senior players, the experienced players like SP and Thiago Silva, to control the ball a bit more,
yeah,
to regain the possession of the ball. But that did not happen at all. So I think that's something like which we cannot blame on Lampard. So he, I think, clearly pinpointed that they are a possession. They play possession-based football, and we used to we'll need the ability of Werner and Pulisic to counter-attack them on the wing. So I think the previous game, it wasn't Lampard's fault or his tactics fault. It was the players. I think they have lost faith in Lampard, and I think the
yeah,
camp is, as you mentioned, split into two.
yeah. So I mean, like I said, I mean, yesterday for me the standout performer was for Man City. The standout performer was Kevin De Bruyne, and you know what he's all about. He's the player that's going to create chances. He's the player that's going to run between the lines. He's going to expose any team. Whether they're not so good or such a good team. Kevin De Bruyne was going to pretty much split you open. When I was watching that game, there was I forgot his name. Was it? Let me just. It was Cancelo or Gundogan or Rodrigo. I think one of them was marking a player throughout the game. He was doing a task on them. But what I didn't see from Chelsea is doing like how we saw Herrera against. What Herrera did against Hazard, he completely marked
Yep.
him. He was pocketing throughout the game. I didn't see anything like that in yesterday's game. Certain players, like the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, if he nullified him throughout the 90 minutes, or even Sterling, or even Silva as well, why didn't Frank Lampard approach in a way where we can take one player out of the game completely? Like Kevin De Bruyne, he was playing as a false number 9 yesterday. He was stringing in passes. He was the one that was creating everything for City. Personally speaking, you know, like this is why I said, was the approach from Frank Lampard wrong there? In terms of because in the first 15 minutes we played really good football. We were passing the ball, we were moving it around, we even created chances as well. It's a shame that we weren't that clinical and we couldn't finish off some of the chances. But yeah, going back to the Kevin De Bruyne, should Frank Lampard have looked at him and said, you know what, look out for this guy, might create something? Should Frank Lampard should have done a job on one of the City players? Because there's Kevin De Bruyne, there's Rodrigo, there's a bunch of standout performance there. So should he
Yep.
done?
Yeah, definitely agree. So since they were also missing their strikers, they were playing a false nine
Yeah,
system. So I think their only point of creativity was Kevin De Bruyne and Raheem Sterling, who had pace on the wings. So I
yeah,
think like Kante should have been the one who should have man marked De Bruyne. So I don't know like why that didn't happen. So when you have to play against teams like these, where there are single standout performers, for example, De Bruyne for Man City, Harry Kane for Tottenham, and
yeah,
Bruno for Manchester United, and we have that sort of ability, where we can nullify these sort of players using our midfield, using N'Golo Kante and everyone. So, yeah, completely agree. Like one of the players should have been man marking De Bruyne, but
Yeah.
I don't know like why that didn't happen. I think N'Golo Kante had one of the worst performances of the season. He was also at fault for the third goal.
Oh
So
yes,
I
yeah.
don't know, what went wrong yesterday. It's the
Um,
basics every time. Like it's the basics, that we are doing wrong.
yeah. I think that yesterday was. I think we it's the basic things that we weren't getting right yesterday. Simple passes, short passes. We were getting that completely wrong. And I was looking at just stats right now. The amount of time we were dispossessed is around 10 times, and that's pretty much all the attackers dispossessing the ball. There was a couple of key moments in the game as well where we dispossessed. I think Kovacic, one of, again, had a really, really bad game yesterday. Kovacic losing ball in our own half, we nearly got exposed there. For you, do you think Conte and Kovacic works? Because I have been skeptical about Kova and Conte. I don't think that works for me, personally speaking. Um, and also, do you think Conte as a lone DM works as well? Because there's a lot of fans on Twitter as well thinks that lone DM Conte works, and that's his natural position. I personally think that he's more of a works with two DMs rather than lone DM. So what's your
Yep.
take on that one?
So the problem with current Chelsea's midfield is like we don't have enough creativity as well as we don't have enough physicality. So we
Mm,
have players, who can cover the distance, who can run all over the pitch, but what they do on the ball, there's not much creativity there. So, like in case of N'Golo Kante, I think the 4-3-3 system does not seem to work. So, if we put Kante as the lone DM and Kovacic and Mount as the other two number eight, they
yeah,
don't have enough creativity to push the other team backwards. And
yeah,
even the pressing which Mount and Kovacic do, we don't press as a whole team. So that's where we are getting it wrong. Instead, I would prefer Kante in a 4-2-3-1, like similar to the Conte team where we had Matic partnering Kante. I would love another player there. And instead of a number eight, I would, put in a number 10 who is more creative, who has more flair and who can threaten the, opposition defenses. So this 4-3-3 system at now, like at the moment, it's sending us nowhere. Not enough defense in our midfield, not enough creativity in the midfield. We are just like we just have players who have good work rate, and they don't have the killer instinct at all.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. Let me take some few comments that has been. All right, let me take this one, Jermaine's one. Frank seems to always play. Well, sorry, Frank seems to always want to play Tammy and Mount. Um, do you agree? I mean, I do to a certain extent. I do agree. Do you think? I mean, there's furthermore to that one. Do you think Frank Lampard overuses certain players like Mason Mount and Timo Werner as well? That's another thing that I have seen a lot on the social media as well. The overuse of Mason Mount and Werner, and to a certain extent, I do feel sorry for those guys as well because they've been playing week in and week out, not just for on the club level, but internationally as well. And especially Werner, I think he's just completely worn out. He's jaded, he's tired, and he never seems to get a break. And I think that is kind of hindering his progression as a player and also his performance as well. But yeah, do you think Frank seems to have some of his favorites? I mean, Frank seems to be overusing certain players, the likes of Mount and Werner. Yeah,
Yep. So like Mason Mount, the most far which we have to go to, check uh, Frank's favorite player is the Arsenal game and the Villa game. So we had like two games within 48 hours. And I think Mason Mount started both of them. And I think, played the complete 90 minutes as well. So that's where, Frank needs to improve. So even though like he's thinking the best for the players, but he needs to realize, they need a bit of rest. So remember, like earlier in the season, he benched Mount for one game, and the next game in which Mount played, He was
Yeah.
quite energetic. His pressing was quite good.
Yeah.
So that's where, like, he has to, Frank Lampard has to learn. Like, he needs to bench certain players at
Yeah.
specific moments, and he needs to, talk to them like it's
Yeah.
for their own good. And,
Yeah.
it's not because of a dip in performance or something, but, it's for their own good, and ask them to come strong, the other match. Even for
But
Werner, like when we had the wingers missing, he used Werner too much on the wings. That's where, he got it wrong. And Werner confidence as a striker, like since he wasn't getting goals on the wings, it went down the hill. So that's where, the problems arise for Chelsea.
yeah, definitely agreed on that one. Yeah, but I think the same thing as well. Mason Mount has been overused, and to be honest, I think it's Mason Mount or Kai Havertz. You switch them around. Play Kai Havertz as number 10 if you want to. But I do understand what Mason Mount brings to the team. He does, of course, has a lot of energy and is very, is very aggressive when it comes to pressing the opposition, and I like that about Mason Mount. Um, but yeah, he has been overused to be honest this season, and he's been he has to be. It's not dropped because of his having a bad game, but I just think he just needs to have a bit of a rest and just relax a bit, just see how things are going, and same with Werner as well. What I feel Werner is a bit frustrated with what's going on. But that's just my personal take. I think he's just a bit frustrated. The fact that he's playing on the left, sometimes through the middle as well, on the right as well. And do you think does Frank know where Werner should be playing, or he's just experimenting where he can play in the Premier League? Because in Bundesliga, he was playing on the left as well, he was very effective as well. He was playing as a striker as well. But coming into a new league, new team, new management, and playing on the left, it's not really working out for him here. Especially, Premier League is very physical. It's tactical as well. So you aren't going to have that free run where you can just, you know, have fun on your left hand side, create open space and whatnot. Yesterday, I saw that. I mean, yesterday I saw the Man City defenders doing a job on Werner, completely closing the channel as well, and not allowing him that freedom. So, do you think Frank Lampard needs to find a different way to sort of have Werner be impactful in the team?
So I think so. Like playing centrally or playing as a striker is Werner's best position. So if you watch the post-match conference against Man City, like the reporter asked this question, like what Frank Lampard prefers, like whether Werner he prefers Werner as a striker or on the wing. So Lampard also mentioned that he prefers him centrally, and the player himself wants to play centrally. So
Yeah,
that's where I think like Frank Lampard is learning, but it should have come a, like 5 to 6 games ago.
yeah,
This question and the comment by Lampard, it should have come long way ago when the Chelsea fans were asking him to be played as a central striker.
yeah,
The other thing, like in the German league, I think Werner played in a formation where they had two strikers. I think
mm,
Werner was on the left, and the other striker was Paulson in the Leipzig team.
yeah,
So that's where I think so. Signing another striker should be like uh, uh, how to say a priority for Chelsea. And if the rumors linking us to Haaland were true, I would really vouch for it. Like playing a two striker formation with Haaland on the right and Werner on the left and Pulisic on ZH on the wings. Not only does it provide us the ability and the flexibility to change the formations. So whenever teams plan against Werner or Haaland in a specific way, we
yeah.
have that flexibility to change our strikers and our wingers up front.
But this raises a question. If we do bring Haaland in the summer, what does that mean for Tammy and his future at Chelsea Football Club, and also for Giroud as well, who I think is towards reaching the end of Chelsea career? To be honest, he might be offloaded possibly in summer or season after that one.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for Tammy? Does Tammy become a third choice striker? Does he have to find a new club? Because I mean, you can in a way say Giroud and Tammy is a bit similar in terms of the profile of
Yeah.
a striker they are. So I mean, one has to go. I mean, what would the future be for Tammy if, let's say, we do sign Haaland? Um, I don't know. It's going to be tricky because Man City, I think, is going to sign Haaland. But what does that mean for? Let's say we do sign Haaland. What does that mean for Tammy and Giroud? Um, if that happens, I'm thinking Giroud is gone. He is definitely leaving after that, and I think Tammy will be start thinking to himself, well, you signed Haaland, you got Werner as well. I'm going to be a third choice striker or third choice in any sort of department. So what does that? What would it mean for Tammy?
So I think so. You are correct. If Haaland comes in this summer, one of Tammy or Giroud will have to leave. I think most probably it will be Giroud. So even like I saw the reports this morning. So and Pirlo, he stated that he is very much interested in Giroud. So a move to Juventus could be on the cards for Giroud.
Yeah,
But like there could be two options. Like if Chelsea feel like Giroud still has a couple of more years in him, I would send Tammy out on loan and have three strikers. But if not, like I don't want the same situation to be happening again as the case is now with our defenders. So I would strictly stick to having three strikers only and
yeah.
sending either Giroud permanently or sending Tammy on loan.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the most likely scenario if we do sign Haaland. I don't know how likely that is, but if we do sign him, then I think that is most like what you just said. I think that's going to be the narrative going forward. Tammy would be, I guess, gone on loan. Possibly Giroud might be sold. Um, but yeah, of course, you do raise a very interesting point, and I do kind of agree with you as well. We'll take another comment. This is Optimus. He needs to figure out his starting 11, and he needs to learn how to be flexible. To be honest, I mean, last season, personally speaking, I think the football that we were playing last season, which was much better than what we're playing right now. Um, there was a flexibility in his formation as well. This season, it seems like there's a lot of expectation from the fans. There's a lot of expectation from the club as well. That do you think Frank Lampard is a bit nervous about trying something? The thing that he was doing last season, where he was changing the formation, where he was changing the formation during the game, but because there's a bit of a pressure, there's £200 million spent as well with a lot of clubs, rival fans, pundits, and you name it are watching or have your eyes on you. Um, do you think that's one of the reasons as to why Frank Lampard is sort of struggling this season, if you could say? But yeah, I mean that's my take. But yeah, do you think Frank Lampard is still trying to figure out his starting 11? I mean, if that's the case, then what the hell was he doing for a year and a half? Um, but yeah, what's your take on that? Has he got his first 11, or has he figured out his first 11?
So on the first 11, I think he has finally figured it out right now. So
Yeah.
even if now he hasn't figured this out, then he should be sacked right away. And completely agree to your point. Like last season, he was, very fearless. He
Yeah.
threw Pulisic, who was a record signing, on the bench. He allowed, time. He gave him time to settle in. And whenever, Pulisic was on the field, he was quite exciting and everything. So I think the new players this season should also have been treated the same way. Play the other players like Callum Hudson-Odoi or Tomori and bench the new players, give them time to adapt to the Premier League. So
Yeah.
that's where I think the pressure of spending like 200 plus million pounds caught Lampard. And, he also had that, Havertz signing was a 70 million signing. Werner is a 50 million pound player. So I think that's where, it, it rang bells in his head as well. And he thought like, if I don't start them, then there would be more pressure,
Yeah.
not only on the club, not only on him but as well as on the board. Like media would be asking questions, why
Yeah.
did you spend 70 million pound on a bench warmer or something like that. That's where I think Lampard's come to the pressure, and
Yeah.
he isn't being more flexible enough this season.
Yeah, it's interesting because I personally don't think. I mean, I don't really know how many of his was his signing over the summer. Kai Havertz, Werner, Thiago Silva as well, Ben Chilwell. I know Ben Chilwell was his signing because he's been crying out for a left back. But certain signings like Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, I don't know how much influence he has had in signing those players, especially Kai Havertz. I feel as if that was more of a club signing rather than Frank Lampard signing. Um, Also with Thiago Silva, maybe Thiago Silva was a sort of a club slash Frank Lampard signing as well because he was looking for a centre back, a leader, sort of a defender in that back line, which we saw that it was very evident when we saw in last season as well that we need some sort of a leader at the back, and hence they went for a sort of a short term option in Thiago Silva. And I know that they were looking at a number of other defenders as well during the summer, Upamecano, Koulibaly as well, and there was a bunch of other defenders we were linked with. But how much of influence did Frank Lampard have on the signings this summer?
Yep, I think so. Werner was also a Frank Lampard signing. I remember like there were reports
Yeah,
coming
Werner.
out that he flew to Germany to meet, his representatives in January when he
Wait,
was being linked to Liverpool and everything.
yeah, but all
So
the signings that Frank Lampard, I mean, sorry to cut you off here, but like Ben Chilwell, he's performing really well because you can say
yeah,
that's Frank Lampard signing. Thiago
yeah,
Silva to a certain extent, Mendy as well to a certain extent. They're doing really well. If Werner was Frank Lampard's signing, Frank Lampard should know that where he's going to play. Is he going to play as a left winger? Is he going to play as a striker? He should know, and he should be getting the best out of Werner, I would say. So, do you think he might have got it wrong with Werner, or do you think it's just the fact that Werner is struggling to sort of adapt to the Premier League and the surroundings around him, especially the players?
yep. So I feel like it's the latter case. Like the players, they are finding it very tough to adapt to the Premier League. Considering like the matches are fast and the intensity at which the games are played at Premier League, it's much higher than the German league. So I
Yeah,
think like with Werner, I'm pretty confident that sooner or later, like once he gets a goal or two, like he'll be back in goal scoring form. But about Kai Havertz, like even though he got the assist in Man City game, like he hasn't shown us enough this season that he has that potential to be a world class player in the Premier League. So with Werner, I'm quite confident like he is going to come good, but I'm a bit worried like if Kai Havertz would be able to adapt to the Premier League. He is a kind of Ozil player, so he is like very silky on the ball, very his skills are very good, but his like off the ball, will he be able to survive the intensity in the Premier League in the midfield? That's where one of my concerns are with Havertz.
yeah, okay. Well, we'll go back to, of course, the City game from yesterday. Um, let's go back to, of course, the City game yesterday. And we talked about, of course, where we went wrong, and of course, who wasn't that impactful, and where we got completely exposed. If you were Frank Lampard, who would you have went for? I mean, were you actually satisfied with the formation? Sorry, the selection, the lineup yesterday against City? Because I mean, hindsight will say that Werner didn't really work, but at that time when the team news came out for um, the team news came out, we were pretty much very, very happy the fact that we were going for Pulisic, Werner, and Ziyech. Um, would you have done something different with that? Would you have gone for Hudson Odoi rather than Pulisic? Of course, Pulisic has, for me personally, had been having a stinker of a performance for the past two games. Ziyech as well, coming back from injury. Do you think it was a bit too soon for Frank Lampard to rush him in? But yeah, were you happy? Were you satisfied with the lineup yesterday, or would you have went for something slightly different? Possibly start Kai Havertz in the middle, or yeah, what would you have done differently
So
yesterday?
like for that specific Man City game, I think overall our front three is the best front three which we started against the Man City. But Frank Lampard also needs to keep the context of the game in hand, like which of the players are in form, which are coming back from injury.
Yeah,
So that's where, I would have started Callum Hudson-Odoi ahead of Ziyech and Giroud ahead of Werner. So, like, since we know, like, Werner is struggling with confidence, he is, not getting the goals. I would rather have him start against, the FA Cup opposition, start him against a, weaker team where he can get his confidence back and slowly by slowly integrate him
yeah,
in the matches against the stronger sides. So,
yeah,
like, Giroud has been, in pretty good form, and I think like for that Man City game, I would have preferred Giroud to start and Callum ahead of Ziyech, and make the substitution on if something does not work. Like if Pulisic is bad, bring in Ziyech, or bring in Ziyech for Callum Hudson-Odoi.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. I mean, definitely. I think that's one of the things I criticize Frank Lampard as well. The way he used certain players. So we remember Pulisic as well coming back from injury and then straight put into the first team, and he was never eased into it. Same with Werner as well, Kai Havertz as well. Those are like new players that are only starting to learn and understand the Premier League, the physicality of it, the tactical side of it. And sometimes some players do struggle. We have seen with the other past players as well, some at Chelsea, some at other clubs as well. Those players do struggle to sort of adapt to the Premier League. Do you think that Frank Lampard was a bit too quick to rush the certain players, the likes of Pulisic when he came back from injury? Because after that, he got injured again. Same with Kai Havertz as well. Should he easily ease him into the first team rather than just straight throw him in there and hope for the best? Same with Werner as well. Because I mean, at the start of the season, we did have the luxury of having a lot of sort of players to start. But do you think like Frank Lampard got it wrong in rushing certain players, the likes of Werner, Kai Havertz, and even Pulisic as well when he came back from injury?
Yep. So, that's another great point where Frank Lampard got it wrong. So, Pulisic, we remember like how his injury, how his record has been, how
Yeah,
his muscles are. Like right from his spell at Dortmund, there also he
yeah,
had the same injury. So,
he dropped.
knowing that we were going to have a tough, December fixture list, Pulisic should have, eased on. Then again, the same thing with Ziyech and Kai Havertz. So I remember like after Havertz came from COVID, he started three straight games against Krasnodar in the Champions League, then
Mm,
against Everton, and then against Wolves as well. That was like three games within a week for a player that has come back from COVID. Then that's where he has like got it completely wrong, like favoring the wrong type of players in the wrong situation, and the favoritism, his team selection. And I think it's not about tactics at all. It's his team selection and, in-game management, his substitutions. That's where like he's getting it very wrong.
yeah. Now I'm just looking at, of course, the stats from yesterday's game in terms of rating, total shots, possession wise as well, pass success, dribbles. It seems like City has pretty much outclassed us yesterday. Yesterday I was watching the game and I was watching Pulisic as well, making runs as well, and he was making a lot of dribbles, but there was no one there. There was no one there to pass to because there was one for where I was watching and Pulisic just goes past the Man City players, but again there was no one there. There was no Werner, there was no Ben Chilwell as well, and it seems like he was just running like a headless chicken without any intent or any execution with him. Um, and I've been, like I said, I've been disappointed with Pulisic's performance, especially ever since he came back from injury. I don't think he has been the same as last season or, at the start of the season as well, when he was really completely dominating and creating chances as well. He is clearly a man out of form. I think we all can agree that. I think a lot of Chelsea fans agree to the fact that he's out of form. this is where, of course, I expect Hudson-Odoi to sort of step in and replace Pulisic until, of course, Pulisic gets back to a form. And I think we can agree as well that Frank Lampard's management has been totally bad. But this is a manager. Well, he's a new manager, of course, but he has been managed by top managers, the likes of Mourinho, the likes of Pellegrini, the likes of Carlo Ancelotti, I think Rafa Benitez, as I'm not sure. The big managers, and he must have seen it during his playing days as well. How you manage or how you handle how you handle such situations, especially when there is a pressure when there is certain players out. So I mean, how has Frank not rectified some of those problems? How has he not, come out on top? Why? How's he still struggling? There's 5 games where we had piss poor performance. I think it starts with Arsenal game all the way to the City game. So I mean, what should Frank Lampard do in order to switch things around? Does he need to make a drastic change, like scrap everything, or does he need to make little changes? What do you think Frank Lampard needs to do from here?
So
And I think
I
we have a gap from now till I don't know when we have the FA Cup final, FA Cup final, FA Cup game. But I think the next game is on the 12th. I think
Yep,
against someone.
the FA Cup game is on 12th, and then we have Fulham on
Oh
16th.
yeah, yes,
Yep.
yes. So from now till the FA Cup game, what does Frank Lampard needs to do, and what does he needs to sort of let's say needs to work on? Because I feel as if there's a lot of things that's missing. I think the communication is really bad. There's no passion. There's no desire, and everything just looks flat, very flat, static. How does Frank Lampard, who's been managed by top managers in the world, how does he pull this group of players and start making it work again?
So I think like he should admire certain players like who he didn't trust much, but they are performing in for him whenever they are put on the pitch. The likes of Callum, I think he should admire them and have a straight conversation with some of the players which he has wrongly benched, like have a conversation with Werner, say to him that I know you are a striker, I know you are out of form right now, but I need you to slowly regain your confidence. So that's where I think he needs to integrate them against the smaller teams in the FA Cup. Start
Yeah,
Pulisic, start Werner, start players that are out of confidence against the smaller teams, and then when we have the likes the oppositions like Leicester City, start Giroud and other players which have performed. So that's where I think Frank Lampard needs to have a conversation with the players as well as he has to admit some things which he did wrong in the past.
yeah,
Admit it openly in the media. Throw aside all the ego. I think like when he became a manager, like he became a bit egoistic. You can see
mm,
his fight against the Liverpool staff, in
oh
the
yes,
way
yeah.
they manage them. So I think that's
Like
where
that.
like
Did you like what Frank
Mhm.
did there?
no,
Oh, you did.
no, I think the comments they were a bit too disgraceful. Like if
Yeah,
we were a team challenging for the title, and then he would have made those comments. Then I think I would have understood the rivalry. But now there's no match between us or Liverpool, or no match between him or Klopp. So that's where I think he got it wrong. If he was a world class manager, he's 10 years into managing big clubs, then I understand like what those comments were. But now, like they were too early. That's where Frank needs to ground himself. He needs to
yeah.
admit it his mistake. You know,
I
offer
completely agree.
offer an apology to the players who he has mistreated, And who knows, like we could be back up and running, faster than we think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one as well because I have the similar feeling as well. What you just said. Do you think maybe Frank Lampard needs to change the formation? Maybe change it 4-2-3-1 um, in against. I mean, the FA Cup game. I think it's going to be a game where obviously there's no pressure. I mean, there is going to be a pressure, but it's going to be it should be a comfortable win for us. But should he try something different there? Possibly, maybe experiment with the players. Maybe try something different formation. Um, well, I mean, yeah, with the FA Cup game, would you change it? Would you make a big change, or would you just stick with that, or just slight changes to the squad and the player yeah, the players?
Yeah. So, like in this game, he has to start Tomori, I think, in the defense.
Oh yes,
Rudiger and Tomori in the defense. Then I think give a bit of rest to Espilicueta. He has been tired a lot. His performances, they have not been up to his usual best. Then I think in the midfield, Billy Gilmer is another player who deserves to start. Even when he came against Man City, he looked, very catchy. His diagonal passes were very good. So I think Gilmer needs to start. I don't want to see Jorginho at all. So
yeah,
again, I would rather have Kai Havertz playing in the number 10 role instead of, again seeing Jorginho. Then again, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Werner, and Pulisic have to be, my front three. Callum Hudson-Odoi because he deserves the start, and Pulisic and Werner like because they are out of confidence. I think, and a goal would do very good to them.
yeah. I mean, you're very true. I think certain players, especially our key players, Pulisic, Werner, and all those guys, it's a tricky one because obviously we do want to play players that hasn't played a lot of football, and also we do want to play players that is low in confidence, like so Pulisic, Mount, Werner as well, Ziyech as well. Put them in a game against the FA Cup who we're playing, and play them. They'll start scoring goals. They'll just the confidence level will just go high up instantly. But there's also a risk of like we just discussed earlier as well, overusing certain players. This could be, of course, for Frank Lampard, perfect opportunity to rest the likes of Werner, Mason Mount, and of course Pulisic as well, who of course his hamstring is like a cheese string. It just goes any time. What's your assessment on the defense yesterday against Man City? Were you happy with the defense, or do you think it's the fact that our midfield got completely overrun by Man City, that we were completely left exposed at the back? So yeah, what was your take on the defense yesterday? Were you happy with it, or do you think there was no protection for the defenders yesterday?
I think if you look at the first goal, I think the defense was at fault there. So, like Gundogan, he took a turn, and
Yeah,
although it was a very good turn, but still, he was the last man on the pitch, and none of our defenders was close to him. So
mm,
that's where I think the mistake was on defenders. Then again, when you see the second goal, the Phil Foden one, he was
yeah,
offside. Only Ben Chilwell, played him onside. So the players ahead of him, like Thiago Silva, were playing him offside, but they did not know what was happening at the back. And Ben Chilwell, I think, was at the fault there. He played him, onside there. And then the third goal, I think it's N'Golo Kante's fault. So like
oh yes,
all of those three goals, they could have easily been prevented. But again, if you look at the performance, like the defense was completely shambles. De Bruyne, like even before they scored the first goal, he made a run and he simply walked past through the defense. Luckily for us, like he shot his shot was wide of the goal. So I think Man City could have scored like 5 or 6 goals
yeah,
yesterday. Like our defense was graceful, in shambles, and midfield, like it was completely non-existent. So defense has also,
it was.
needs to take some blame for those goals.
Definitely, definitely. What's your assessment on Mendy as well? Because to be honest, for the past couple of games as well, Mendy has been leaking in a lot of goals. Some questionable, some without his fault as well. But do you think Mendy he's starting to show his starting to leak goals? Or are we starting to see Mendy, the real Mendy, or do you think it's just the fact that our defense has been shocking as well as of course the midfield that it's Mendy at a certain time is a bit helpless in saving all the shots. Um, so yeah, what's your assessment on Mendy so far? Because
So,
we had the honeymoon period with Mendy, but I think that's over now. So what do you think the assessment? I mean, what do you think about Mendy, or do you think he'll come good?
So I think Mendy is a good goalkeeper, to be honest. The reason some of the Chelsea fans overhyped him was because, Kepa was there, a former goalkeeper, who was completely, disgraceful. So, like, when you compare, like a 1 out of 10 goalkeeper to a 6 out of 10 goalkeeper, it's obvious, like, six out of 10 goalkeeper, he looks world class and everything. So that's where I think, some of the fans, they started overhyping Mendy. But still, I think he's a good goalkeeper. But if you think about Mendy as a long term goalkeeper, like, that's where the problem is. He is like 28 uh, or
Yeah.
29 years old. I think he's a wonderful signing for 22 million pounds, replacing Kepa. He's a wonderful signing. But I would prefer if Chelsea go after a young goalkeeper. I think Donnarumma is getting linked to us right now. Also, his contract is getting expired in the summer. So I think, like, it's a no-brainer. We have to get him and keep Mendy as second choice goalkeeper and sell or loan Kepa.
Yeah.
He's a good goalkeeper, but he's a 6 or 7 out of 10, nothing more than that. He's not world class, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
If you look at the Everton game where we lost, I think it was completely Mendy's fault. So, like, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he was running, away from the goal. There was no need to make the challenge, against
Oh
Everton.
yes, yeah, definitely, yeah. I agree on
Again,
that one.
yep. I think there was another goal. I don't know which team that was. I think it was Wolves or something, where again, the goal was debatable. So, like, Mendy tried to come for the ball, then he hesitated, and then
Oh yes.
it was against Leeds, I think, the first goal. Yep, against the
Yeah,
Leeds,
it was
the
Leeds.
first.
Yeah, Leeds, yeah.
When Calvin Phillips made that pass, he hesitated a bit and then stopped. Allowed the opportunity for the striker to pounce upon, and that's where, like, uh, doubts over him arise. Even the first goal against Man City, I think if he got a stronger hand to it, he definitely got his fingers to it. I think it could have been prevented. So. Uh,
Yeah, definitely agreed. I don't know how long we've been running for. Do. Okay. All right. Let's see what the comments are. Tomori. Yeah, I do think Tomori needs to start as well. Again, I think he might be off in January. I'm not sure if it's going to be loan or if it's going to be a permanent deal. But like you as well, I am very disappointed the fact that Tomori doesn't get started. I don't know why that is. Maybe he's doing something wrong in the training. Maybe he has said something to Frank Lampard. I don't really know why. But what I've seen of Tomori is that he's a class player. He's very comfortable. He's composed on the ball as well. I just don't understand why he doesn't start. It just kind of makes me question. Like, it's very bizarre he doesn't start because I think out of all the defenders, I think he's the third best defender, I would say. It would be Thiago Silva, Zuba, or whichever way you want to put it. And then I would say it's Tomori. There was one I want to ask you, Christensen. He started against Man City in the last time we played them. We did something on them. And he was a very instrumental player for Christensen. Why didn't he start? I mean, why didn't we apply the same tactics that we used against City last time we beat them? Why couldn't we use the same tactics this time? Why did Frank Lampard needs to do something different. And because we know what Man City is all about, they're going to keep possession. They're going to keep possession. They're going to hit us when, um, when the time is right for them. They're going to hit us. So why hasn't Frank, taken from the last game and worked on that and possibly started Christensen? Or do you think, Frank thought that he might Pep Guardiola might go for a different approach in this game? So yeah, I mean, what's your take on that one? Should Christensen should have started, and of course Tomori as well. Maybe not
So
both together, but at least one of
yeah,
them.
I agree to your point. Like maybe Frank Lampard should have changed his formation to a back three. I think when in the last season we won against them, I think we were might be playing with a back three or something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, I like he could have tried that, but the point of Christensen starting, I think like that, I don't rate him at all. So the problem with Christensen is like he neither has the pace, he is very soft, he goes on the ground very easily, he's not strong enough in the air. So that I don't rate Christensen at all. Playing another defender, maybe Rudiger or Tomori, yes, he could have done that. But I want Christensen and Jorginho, both of them, out of my club. Like they don't deserve to be in Chelsea at all.
Yeah.
With Christensen, if you look at his track record, so we have given him, lots of chances. He went into our playing 11, since the Conte days. So like he was there during the Conte era, he was there during the Sari era. He he was again there in the previous season. I don't think like he has developed enough, and the age where we were expecting him to become the next John Terry and blah blah. So I think it's past way past him. So I think like there's no player of that caliber in Christensen. Even if you look at the games where he has started. So I remember like when we were playing Barcelona in the Champions League round of 16, we were 1-0 up. Willian hit the post twice and then scored the screamer. And if you look at how we conceded the goal again, Christensen was at fault. So there are like certain moments when we require, Christensen to, increase when we expect some sort of good performance from him, and he doesn't show up at all. Even in the first game against Liverpool, when Mane was there, like behind him, he, tackled him and we went down to 10 men. So like again, he was at fault. So there are specific instances. I can make you count more of them where he has been at fault at certain situations, and that's why I want him out.
Yeah. That's very good. Yeah, that's a very good point actually. Obviously we're in January now, this transfer window. Let me ask you this now. Would you make any signings this January? Of course, it's going to be difficult as well. January period is where we don't tend to get the players that we want, especially the signings that we want. Let's say Haaland is we can't get him in January, but most of the signings that we do in January are short term. They're not for the future, for the next 5 or 10 years, but not 10 years, but five for the next 5 years. Would you make any change? Would you buy someone this January? Would you, possibly a winger, possibly a cover for Reece James or Ben Chilwell? Would you make some signings? Who would you sign? Yeah, in January, if you are Frank Lampard now, right now.
So, as you mentioned, like making signings in January are very tough for any club. So,
Mm,
not only like they would be expensive signings, but I don't know how they'll fit us, fit in the Chelsea team when we are going through, such a rough patch. Like already we have so much of chaos with all the new players coming in. They haven't settled at all. So like I'm not in favor of making January signings at all. Maybe we could go after a player who becomes a free agent in the summer, like
mm,
Donnarumma or David Alaba. So
mm.
I think both of them are a great shout, and they would do wonders for the next Chelsea team. So I think there we could make movement in January. But for new signings, like I can't honestly say I'm in favor of making any new signings at the moment. Instead, we have to look at our squad misbalance. We have three left backs right now, so I think one of them needs to leave. Or even if both Emerson and Alonso leave, I'm okay with that. Uh, till we sign another backup option for Chilwell.
Yeah.
So either make one of them leave, or sell both of them and sign a backup option. And then again, Jorginho needs to leave, and then one of the defender, I think they needs to go. Like five center backs at our club right now, I think it makes no sense. Tomori, if he wasn't to be played, I think he should have been loaned out.
Mm,
So again, defenders need to go, and it's this squad misbalance where we have got it wrong, and that's why Lampard, he cannot bring in flexibility. So like, look at the players which we have loaned out: Loftus-Cheek, Ross Barkley. So they could have played as a number 10 or as a backup wingers. They could have filled in when our players were injured. So we for Loftus-Cheek, I understand, like he needed game time. He was completely off the pace. But Barkley, like he's a very good off the bench player. So I think that's where we got it wrong. We had a big squad, but we sold the players at the wrong position.
mm, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you're quite right with the signings as well. We can't make big signings. Donnarumma would be a good signing. You point out Alaba as well. I'm a huge fan of him. I think if we do sign him, then I think we'll be on the next level. But of course, we are fighting competition with the likes of Madrid and other big, massive clubs. Um, how about Declan Rice? Are you a Declan Rice fan, or or is not the sort of a player that we need?
So I think West Ham wouldn't sell him, for less than 80 or 90 million pounds. So I think that's where the issue is. Like, I don't know how much.
City wanted, Leicester City wanted 80 million for Ben Chilwell. We got him for less than half of that, actually. Do you think maybe Marino could do the same magic on West Ham and reduce that price to possibly, let's say, 50 million pounds or 60 million pounds? Or firstly, are you in favor? If you do sign Declan Rice, are you in favor of that, or you think it's not a signing that we need?
Uh, I'm in favor of signing Declan Rice if it comes at the correct price. The reason for that is I think there's a natural leader in him. So, like, he always talks on the pitch, which we are missing at the moment. And then again, he's a versatile player. He can play in the, CDM role or in the defense. And again, he could be the one to partner Kante. We have that strong midfield pivot, and then it provides us the flexibility to change formations, player number 10, and all of that. So yes, I'm in favor of Declan signing Declan Rice, but for 80 million pounds, I think that's too high. So if the case is that, I would rather pay Alaba double his wages and snatch him from the likes of Real Madrid and everything, and play him alongside Kante in the midfield. So like, Alaba can also play as a left back, as a defender, and as a CDM. So like, if we need to spend that extra 30 million pounds, it would rather be on Alaba's wages. Like, it's not going to be 30 million pounds, but that's where we have a cheaper option there.
Yeah, exactly. I think you pretty much nailed it there. Yeah, Declan Rice, I do like him as a player. I think he's sort of a captain material, a leader, just like what you said as well. And I do like Alaba as well. He plays a versatile player who can play as a defender, left back, and CDM as well. Really, really good player. And he's only 28 years of age as well. So it's kind of bizarre as well. Munich is letting him go. But, who cares? I see that you are Lampard in. I mean, if if let's say we lose the next 3-4 games, are you still Lampard in? How far are you gonna? How far are you gonna go to say Lampard in until you say, you know what, it's time to change? Maybe this manager is not going to cut it for us, because I think a lot of Chelsea fans can't separate Frank Lampard as a player and Frank Lampard as a manager. It seems like everyone's just, you know, keeping them together. And I think that's where emotions are coming to play as well. And maybe, just maybe, we're not thinking logically as well. But yeah, I mean, how far would you go? How much time would you give Frank Lampard?
So I'll give him this season. So if we go on a run of like losing the next 5 to 6 games, then I would sack him. But I think that's very the chance of happening that is very rare. So that's where I think he needs some benefit, uh, and I think I would give him till the end of this season to check out like what he has learned, what changes does he bring after seeing such a dip in form, how does he treat players from here. So I, completely agree. He has made a lot of errors, lot of blunders, both tactically and with his substitution game
Yeah.
and his man management as well. But I would still give him like the end of this season. So I think like even his managerial skill, if it's not like at that title winning level, but he still is building a team which we can carry over to another manager, and they can take us forward from there. So like remember under Conte we were getting linked to the likes of like Ashley Barnes as a striker. So that's where
Yeah.
I think Lampard is doing a very good job. We are getting linked to the current transfer target, and I wouldn't mind him, stepping. Uh, I wouldn't mind him if he steps down from the manager role and takes up, a board role similar to the way Petr Cech has taken, a coach come, transfer, a role in the transfer board, something like that. So I think once we get our transfer targets, like 2 to 4 transfer targets, which we are looking in the summer, and then I think it's time, to let him go if he still doesn't perform. Ankit, I have lost you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. But it seems like, well, from what as it stands, England might be going on full lockdown. So I'm not sure if there will be any games as well. So it's going to be interesting what happens in the next coming days. Of course, this might be a good sign for Chelsea and Frank Lampard as well. If you do go on lockdown, if you do, of course, have this break, for Frank Lampard to sort of analyze the game, the mistakes that he has made, and of course rectify those mistakes, and of course get certain players back to the full form as well. Pulisic looks completely out of it. Werner looks confused and lost as well. And yeah, there's a lot of players that needs to sort of needs a kick in the ass a bit to sort of get them going as well. Because yeah, I am of course being sitting on the fence with Frank Lampard. I need to see, like you said, Nav as well. You need to see it till the end of the season, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it till the end of the season and see how he progresses. Does he, improve the players? Does Chelsea play better? Are we more fluid? Do we go up against the big clubs as well? And that was one of my criticism as well, that against the big clubs, the top six, I would say, we haven't really performed. We have been outclassed by Arteta. I mean, he has completely done a job on us, and that can't take that. I mean, Arsenal were completely down and out, and we were out. We were done. We'll probably finished by half time. They got 2 goals, I think, half time. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for in the next, from now till the end of the season. If it continues or not, I'm not even sure what's going to happen. But I want to see us go up against the big clubs. Liverpool at the start of the season, I thought we gave them a good run, good fight as well. And I thought to myself, you know what, this is actually a good side. We're really playing good football. And then, of course, United, of course, I believe that, Frank wanted that draw. If you look at hindsight, maybe it was a good draw right now. But yeah, there was a Tottenham game as well. We managed really well. We lost in pens. It was the League Cup. But, this is what I'm waiting for. I'm looking for some sort of improvement. And it's been like a year and a half, possibly 2 years at the end of the season. And we need some sort of improvement. Like, we need to compete for the title. A lot of Chelsea fans that we haven't seen when we were shit, when we were rubbish. we have always seen us lifting trophies, the Mourinho days, the Ancelottis, the Rafa Benitez as well. Even though a lot of fans don't like Rafa Benitez, I think he was a very good manager, and I do like Rafa Benitez. I thought he was a class. And to be honest, if it wasn't for him, we would have not got Champions League. We would have not won. We won the Europa League as well under him. But yeah, I do want to see what Frank does from now till the end of the season. I am sitting on the fence here. I was leaning towards Frank Lampard out because there was some in-game management where I thought to myself, you know what, this guy is not cutting it. He was a great manager. He was a great player. I became a fan of Chelsea because of Frank Lampard, and of course, at that time, Hasselbank as well, who was my favorite. So those were my players. But of course, I am splitting Frank Lampard as a manager and Frank Lampard as a player. So I will, of course, give him till the end of the season, see how he does, and obviously we will evaluate. But maybe if we do go on a lockdown, I don't know how true that is, but if it does, then of course this will give time for Frank to reassess everything. Any final thoughts, Nav? I'm sorry I kept you for like an hour or so, but it was quite interesting talking to you and sort of understand other Chelsea fans' perspective on the season. But it was nice talking to you. But any final thought you want to say?
No, Ankit, just I would call for patience from the Chelsea fan. Just trust him a bit, like support him. Even if he gets the sack, like I have no issues because we all know the reasons. Like there's some reasoning behind this. He has failed, to deliver of what we, uh, of what was expected of him for this season. So I completely understand if he gets the sack, but till he is in the job, just support him and back him. That's all I have to say on him. And thanks for the stream, Ankit. So it's after a long time, like I've come
Yeah,
on board again. I've really enjoyed this one. So hope we talk again in a better situation next time.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to be talking about us winning trophies and whatnot. It'll be, of course. I haven't done stream for such a long time, and it was a pleasure, of course, having you, Nav, on the stream as well. And it's always nice to talk to you as well. You do bring up a good points as well, and it kind of makes me think. And hopefully, the chat, of course, is having a good think about some of the points that you have made and we have made as well. So it was nice, constructive sort of talk with you. So yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a pleasure having you here on the stream. It was good night. It's good to chat about football. Good to chat about Chelsea actually with another fellow Chelsea fan. Normally it's just by myself, and I could be chatting shit, but it's nice to have you on the stream. Yeah, so I just wanted to today talk about, of course, the Chelsea and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, not a good start to the year, to be honest, getting beaten by City. But hopefully things do improve now. We do got a couple of we do have a gap from now till the next game. So it's going to be quite interesting what we do. And of course, in the transfer business as well, there's Giroud been linked with a move away. There's talks of Marcos Alonso possibly leaving as well. Did you see this on Twitter? He liked one of the posts where we got beaten by City, and he liked that post. So I do think there is a split. I do think certain players are not really happy with the fact that they're not getting enough playing time. But yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you, Nav. Thank you very much for joining. Obviously, I'll try to do more streams as well. There was a couple of guys that were meant to come on. Faisal Khan was meant to come on. There was another guy that was meant to come on as well, but I guess he missed it. Maybe next time, I guess. But Nav, as always, you have been amazing. Thank you very much. And yeah, I'm going to end the stream right over here. It's been good talk. Yeah, guys, thank you very much for joining. Whoever joined, thank you for the comments as well. Been a pleasure. And yeah, we should be back next time. We'll talk about transfer news as well, possibly, and hopefully we get more people on the stream as well. Talk about sort of dissect Chelsea season so far. But anyways, guys, that is a wrap. And yeah, I'll catch everyone in the next stream. Till then, take care, guys. Stay safe, and see you later.